The cargo ship Brightway moved slowly through a lonely part of the galaxy. There were no bright stars nearby, only cold light from distant suns. The ship's engines hummed softly, and inside, the crew worked in quiet focus. They were searching for salvage in an asteroid field that had not been visited for hundreds of years. Old wrecks often drifted here, trapped by the pull of the rocks. Some wrecks were from cargo ships like theirs. Others were from ships that no one could even identify anymore. Captain Mira stood at the main control panel, watching the sensor display. She was a tall woman with sharp eyes that never seemed to rest. Years of travel had given her patience, but also a deep hunger for discovery. The crew knew her as someone who would not turn away from a mystery, no matter how strange it seemed. At the scanning station, her crewman Jorn adjusted the controls. "Captain, I'm getting a metallic reading from the third cluster ahead," he said. "The signal is strong but small. Could be part of an old probe." "Set a course," Mira replied. "Let's take a closer look." The Brightway glided between the giant chunks of rock. Some asteroids were as large as mountains, turning slowly in the dark. Others were no bigger than a man's hand, drifting in clouds like frozen dust. The crew kept the shields active to deflect smaller debris. As they approached the signal, the object came into view on the forward screen. It was indeed small, no more than 4 meters across, and it had a strange shape. The main body was a sphere, with broken arms extending outward. Most of it was covered in scorch marks and dents, but parts still shone faintly under the ship's lights. "It's not human," Jorn said, narrowing his eyes. "The design is all wrong for our probes. Bring it aboard," Mira said. "I want to see it up close." Using the ship's small grappling arms, they pulled the object into the cargo bay. When the airlock closed, Mira and 2 others suited up in light work gear and went inside. The air smelled faintly of old metal and dust. The object lay in the center of the bay, resting on a support frame. It had no visible engines, no markings in any language they knew. One of the broken arms ended in a jagged tear, as if it had been torn away by great force. "Look at this," said Leon, the ship's engineer, as she pointed to the surface. "There's something etched into the metal here. Not random scratches, these are symbols." Mira bent closer. The markings were fine and precise, each line carved with care. They seemed to form a pattern of dots and lines arranged in curves. "Get a cleaning kit," she said. "Let's see it properly." Leon returned with a small spray and a soft brush. They worked slowly, wiping away the dust and residue. As the marks cleared, the pattern grew more detailed. It began to form a map of stars, with thin lines connecting them. "It's a star chart," Mira said softly. "An old one." The crew gathered around, looking at the revealed map. It showed dozens of star systems in careful arrangement. At first glance, some looked familiar, others were unknown. But one mark stood out. Near the center of the map was a world marked with a black circle. The circle was heavy and deliberate. Unlike the other fine lines, it almost looked like it had been burned into the metal. "What does that mean?" Jorn asked. Leon frowned. "It's not a symbol I've seen before, but it doesn't look like a good sign." Mira touched the black circle with her gloved hand. The cold metal made her fingers tingle. She had seen many maps in her travels, but never one that marked a world this way. She felt a strange pull in her mind, as if the map itself wanted her to follow it. Back on the bridge, Mira placed the map plate on the main console and ordered the computer to scan it. The results were slow to appear, and the computer's voice finally said, "Partial match with known star systems. Estimated age, over 100,000 years." The crew exchanged looks. 100,000 years was older than almost every known civilization in the galaxy. "This shouldn't even exist," Leon whispered. Mira leaned back in her chair. "Yet it does, and someone left it floating here for us to find." Jorn shook his head. "Or it was lost here. Maybe it's cursed. That black mark, maybe it's a warning. Or maybe it's a challenge," Mira said. Her eyes were locked on the map, the black circle like a shadow in her thoughts. She had grown up hearing stories of the first human explorers, the ones who had left Earth to find new homes among the stars. Every great discovery had started with someone ignoring the warnings of others. The rest of the day was spent in careful study. The computer tried to translate the markings, but found no match in any language database. The only clear meaning was the map's star positions. The path to the black circled world was marked with a faint dotted line, as if the map's maker had intended travelers to follow it in a specific order. That night, the crew gathered in the small mess hall. The ship's soft lights cast long shadows on the walls. The table between them held a simple hologram of the map, slowly rotating. So, Leon began. What do? We could take it to a research station. They pay well for something this old. Jordan nodded. Or we could just record it and sell the copy. No need to get involved with something this strange. Mira looked at both of them. We didn't come all this way to hand over our best find to someone else. This is older than any map humans have ever seen. It shows something no one talks about, and I want to see what's there. Leon hesitated. What if that black circle is a warning? What if the world was destroyed for a reason? Then we'll find out the reason, Mira said firmly. That's how we learn. That's how we survive. Humanity didn't reach the stars by turning away from mystery. Jordan sighed. You sound like my old teacher. She used to say, the stars belong to the ones who walk into the dark. Mira smiled faintly. She was right. The decision was made before anyone said another word. The Brightway would follow the path on the ancient map. They would go from system to system until they reached the world marked in black dot as the crew returned to their duties. Mira stayed behind for a moment. She looked at the hologram, at the cold mark in the center of the chart. Somewhere, far away, a planet lay waiting, a place so dangerous or so important that someone had wanted to erase it from the galaxies. Memory. She felt no fear, only the steady pull of curiosity. Out in the dark, the asteroid field drifted as it had for countless ages. The Brightway's engines began to hum louder, preparing for the next jump. The map was now locked into their navigation system, its ancient lines glowing faintly on the display. The journey to the unknown had begun. The Brightway left the asteroid field behind, its engines carrying it through empty stretches of space. The ancient star map sat in a locked case in the captain's quarters, but its presence seemed to touch every corner of the ship. Crew members spoke of it in low voices, as if saying too much might invite trouble. Captain Mira sat in her chair on the bridge, studying the navigation screen. The black-circled world lay far ahead, but the map's dotted route passed through several systems. First, she could feel the excitement in her chest, but she also felt the weight of something unknown pressing at the edges of her thoughts. Jordan entered the bridge carrying a small data pad. Captain, I've been running checks on known historians and translators. There's one name that stands out, Master Ral. He's old, but his work on ancient star records is unmatched. He's also not exactly easy to convince. Mira's eyes narrowed slightly. Where is he? On a station called Varn Point, near the border of the Outer Reach. It's not far from our current course. Set a jump, Mira ordered. If anyone can tell us what that black mark means, it's him. Varn Point Station hung in space like a small city, lights glimmering against the dark. Ships of all shapes and sizes came and went, their pops guided by patient docking officers. The Brightway eased into its berth, locking in with a soft thud. Mira and Jordan stepped into the station's main corridor, the air heavy with the mixed scents of trade goods, engine oil, and cooked food. Traders called out their offers while repair crews clanged tools against worn hulls. They found Master Ral in a quiet corner of the station's library sector. He was a tall alien with skin like polished stone and eyes that seemed to see far beyond the present moment. His long robe was covered with tiny threads of silver, each thread marking a discovery he had made during his life. Ral was bent over a table covered in old star charts when they approached. Without looking up, he said, "You've brought me something unusual, Captain Mira. I could feel it when your ship docked." Mira exchanged a quick glance with Jordan. "We found an object in an asteroid field. I think it's a star map, an old one." "Show me," Ral said simply. Back aboard the Brightway, Mira unlocked the case and placed the map plate on the table before him. Raoul's stone-like fingers traced the carved lines without touching too hard, as if afraid the metal might shatter. His eyes moved slowly, following the patterns. When he reached the black circle, his hand stopped. His face remained still, but his eyes narrowed. "Where did you say you found this?" "In the wreck of a probe," Mira answered, "near the edge of an uncharted asteroid field." Raoul leaned back and let out a slow breath. "This map is not only old, it comes from a time when my people were still young. Its makers were called the Averin. They shaped the first great paths between stars. They were builders, explorers, and, in the end, victims of their own reach." "What does the black circle mean?" Joran asked. Raoul's voice lowered. "It means erased from the stars. It marks a place where no ship should go, not because it is simply dangerous, but because it is no longer meant to exist." Mira frowned. "Destroyed, yes, not in battle, not by nature, by design." Raoul's gaze was heavy. "The Averin removed this world from every living memory they could reach. This map is one of the few surviving records of its location." "Why would they do that?" Raoul shook his head slowly. "No one knows for certain. There are stories ships that followed this path, seeking treasure or knowledge, and never returned. Others came back, different, silent, empty-eyed, their minds gone." The mess hall was quiet as Raoul's words settled over the crew. Leon crossed her arms tightly. "Then we should destroy this map before it takes us with it." Mira looked at the plate, the black circle gleaming faintly in the ship's light. "If the Averin tried to erase it, that means there's something there worth finding. Humanity has faced unknown dangers before. We survived because we pushed forward." Raoul gave her a long, steady look. "That is what the Averin believe as well, Captain. And it was their end. If you go, you do so with the knowledge that history has already tried to warn you." Joran tapped the table nervously. "Maybe the old stories are just that, stories. We've all heard tales made bigger over time." Raoul's eyes did not waver. "Perhaps, but some stories grow because they carry truth that should not be forgotten." Later, as Raoul prepared to leave, he paused by the airlock. "If you go, Captain Mira, remember this: the path to the black circle is not just a journey through space. It is a journey into memory itself. The closer you get, the more it will try to take from you." Mira nodded. "I'll remember." Raoul's lips curved in something between a smile and a frown. "If you can." The airlock closed behind him, and his slow steps faded into the station's noise. That night, Mira walked alone through the bright way. The ship was quiet except for the hum of the engines. She stopped in front of the case holding the map plate. For a long moment, she just stared at the black circle. She thought about Raoul's warning, about ships that never returned. She thought about the chance to see something no human had seen. Before her mind was steady. Fear had never been enough to stop her. The galaxy was full of dangers, but danger was not the same as defeat. In the morning, she gathered the crew on the bridge. The stars outside shone like scattered sparks. "We've heard the warning," she said. "We know the risks, but I believe this is a path worth taking. We can't claim the future if we're afraid of the past." Leon's jaw tightened, but she nodded. Joran sighed, then smiled faintly. "Guess I'd rather vanish chasing something interesting than sit safe and bored." Mira smiled at that, then set the first jump. "Let's see where the Averin's path leads." The engines began to rise in pitch, a deep sound that seemed to vibrate in their bones. The stars on the screen shifted, stretching into bright lines. The bright way leapt forward, leaving Varn Point behind. Somewhere ahead lay the first system on the ancient map. Somewhere ahead waited the black-circled world. In the truth hidden for 100,000 years, Mira sat in her chair, eyes on the forward view. The warnings echoed in her mind, but so did the call of the unknown. Humanity's story was written in such moments, and she intended to add her own chapter. The Brightway emerged from hyperspace into the first system marked on the ancient map. The jump had been smooth, but the moment the stars settled on the forward screen, the bridge felt colder. The system's main star was small and pale, giving only a weak light to the worlds that circled it. Captain Mira leaned forward in her seat, studying the scans. "Report." Joran tapped at the console. "We're in the correct system. 3 planets, all uninhabitable by normal life. But there's something odd energy readings scattered around the outer edge. Faint, but not natural. Leon frowned from the engineering station. Could be old tech drifting in orbit, or mines, or both. Mira kept her voice steady. Bring us closer. Let's see what's out there. The Brightway glided toward the readings, engines quiet except for a low vibration under the deck. The pale star cast long shadows across the bridge, and the crew kept glancing at the screens as if expecting something to appear. As they approached the outer edge of the system, an object came into view. It floated slowly against the darka. Tall, thin structure made of black metal, turning on its axis. Its surface was smooth except for a single glowing line that pulsed faintly, like a heartbeat. That's a beacon, Leon said quietly. Human? Jordan asked. Not even close. She replied. Mira ordered the ship to hold position. Try the standard greeting signal. Jordan sent out a brief transmission in the common trade code. The only reply was silence. The beacon continued to turn, its glow never changing. Then the ship's radio crackled. A slow, deep sound came through 3 tones, repeated over and over. The tones were followed by a long pause. Then the pattern began again. Can we translate that? Mira asked. I can try, Jordan said, fingers working quickly. After a few moments, his screen lit with a rough translation. Do not enter. Do not remember. The words hung in the air. No one spoke for several seconds. Do not remember, Leon said at last. What does that even mean? It means we're on the right path, Mira answered. Leon turned to her sharply. Or it means we're walking into something we can't handle. Mira's gaze stayed on the beacon. We didn't come here to turn back at the first strange signal. The Avern wanted to hide something. That makes me want to find it even more. Jordan's console beeped suddenly. Captain, we're picking up more of these beacons, 3 of them, spaced evenly in orbit. They're forming a perimeter. Any sign of weapons? None, Jordan said. But they could have other ways of stopping ships, Mira considered. Take us between them, slow and steady. The Brightway moved forward, slipping through the gap between 2 beacons. As they passed, the glowing lines on both structures brightened. The ship's lights flickered. The crew felt a faint pressure in their heads, like the beginning of a headache. Engineering. Report, Mira called. Leon's voice was tight. Power systems are fine, but I'm seeing strange spikes in the neural interface sensors. It's almost like something is brushing against the crew's thoughts. Mira's jaw tightened. Keep an eye on it. Let me know if it gets worse. They cleared the beacons and entered the inner system. The second planet glowed faintly from orbit, covered in strange silver patches. Scans showed the patches were massive fields of frozen metal, smooth as glass. There was no sign of life, but the planet gave off low energy pulses, steady and regular. As they circled the world, another signal broke through the static. This time it was a voice, slow, distorted, and speaking in a language none of them knew. The tone was heavy, almost sorrowful. The words came in short bursts, then silence. Then began again. Record everything, Mira ordered. Jordan nodded. Already on it. I'll run it through the translator. The translation took several minutes. When it appeared, it was as unsettling as the beacon's warning. Memory fades. Stay away. Nothing is safe, Leon muttered under her breath. This place really doesn't want visitors, which means it's hiding something, Mira said again, though her voice was quieter now. That night, the crew gathered in the mess hall, their meals half eaten. The glow from the projection of the map lit their faces. The black circle in the center seemed darker than before. I've been thinking, Jordan said slowly. Raoul warned us that the closer we get, the more it will try to take from us, maybe. These beacons are part of that. Not weapons, but defenses that work on the mind. Leon nodded. If they can make us forget, then they don't need to fire a shot. We just turn around without even knowing why. Mira leaned forward. Then we'll keep detailed logs, constant recordings, and backup systems. If something tries to make us forget, we'll fight it with the truth we've stored. And if the truth gets erased too, Leon asked. Mira met her gaze. Then we'll still go forward. Because if we turn back now, we'll never know. In the following hours, They left the system and headed for the next marked location. The stars stretched into long lines as they entered hyperspace. But Mira couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. She spent part of the journey in her quarters, looking again at the physical map plate. Her eyes kept going back to the black circle, but now it seemed less like a warning and more like a shadow. Over the rest of the stars, she wondered if the Avern had marked it not only to warn others, but to test them. When the Brightway dropped out of hyperspace into the next system, the bridge lights dimmed for no reason. The crew checked every system, but no faults appeared outside. The stars shone dimly behind thick veils of dust and gas. Their sensors struggled to see through the haze. Then, faintly, shapes began to appear in the dust, massive shadows that moved without engines. Gliding like silent predators, they kept their distance, circling slowly, never coming close enough to scan clearly. "What are those?" Jorn asked quietly. "No idea," Leon said, "but they're keeping pace with us." "Maintain course," Mira ordered. "Do not engage, unless they make a move." For ours, the shapes followed, never getting nearer, never fading away. And then, as suddenly as they had appeared, they were gone, vanishing into the dust as if they had never been there. The crew sat in silence. No one suggested turning back. That night, Mira added a note to her captain's log. "First signs of resistance are clear. Beacons warn us away, voices speak of danger, shadows follow without sound." If the Avern wanted to keep this path hidden, they built more than physical barriers. This is a road meant to be forgotten, which is why we must remember every step. The Brightway emerged from hyperspace into the first system marked on the ancient map. The jump had been smooth, but the moment the stars settled on the forward screen, the bridge felt colder. The system's main star was small and pale, giving only a weak light to the worlds that circled it. Captain Mira leaned forward in her seat, studying the scans. "Report." Jorn tapped at the console. "We're in the correct system. 3 planets, all uninhabitable by normal life. But there's something identity reading is scattered around the outer edge. Faint, but not natural." Leon frowned from the engineering station. "Could be old tech drifting in orbit, or mines, or both." Mira kept her voice steady. "Bring us closer. Let's see what's out there." The Brightway glided toward the readings, engines quiet except for a low vibration under the deck. The pale star cast long shadows across the bridge, and the crew kept glancing at the screens as if expecting something to appear. As they approached the outer edge of the system, an object came into view. It floated slowly against the dark, tall, thin structure made of black metal, turning on its axis. Its surface was smooth except for a single glowing line that pulsed faintly, like a heartbeat. "That's a beacon," Leon said quietly. "Human?" Jorn asked. "Not even close," she replied. Mira ordered the ship to hold position. "Try the standard greeting signal." Jorn sent out a brief transmission in the common trade code. The only reply was silence. The beacon continued to turn, its glow never changing. Then the ship's radio crackled. A slow, deep sound came through 3 tones, repeated over and over. The tones were followed by a long pause. Then the pattern began again. "Can we translate that?" Mira asked. "I can try," Jorn said, fingers working quickly. After a few moments, his screen lit with a rough translation. "Do not enter. Do not remember." The words hung in the air. No one spoke for several seconds. "Do not remember," Leon said at last. "What does that even mean?" "It means we're on the right path," Mira answered. Leon turned to her sharply. "Or it means we're walking into something we can't handle." Mira's gaze stayed on the beacon. "We didn't come here to turn back at the first strange signal. The Avern wanted to hide something. That makes me want to find it even more." Jorn's console beeped suddenly. "Captain, we're picking up more of these beacons, 3 of them, spaced evenly in orbit. They're forming a perimeter. Any sign of weapons?" "None," Jorn said. "But they could have other ways of stopping ships," Mira considered. Take us between them, slow and steady." The Brightway moved forward, slipping through the gap between 2 beacons. As they passed, the glowing lines on both structures brightened. The ship's lights flickered. The crew felt a faint pressure in their heads, like the beginning of a headache. Engineering. Report, Mira called. Leon's voice was tight. Power systems are fine, but I'm seeing strange spikes in the neural interface sensors. It's almost like something is brushing against the crew's thoughts. Mira's jaw tightened. Keep an eye on it. Let me know if it gets worse. They cleared the beacons and entered the inner system. The second planet glowed faintly from orbit, covered in strange silver patches. Scans showed the patches were massive fields of frozen metal, smooth as glass. There was no sign of life, but the planet gave off low energy pulses, steady and regular. As they circled the world, another signal broke through the static. This time it was a voice, slow, distorted, and speaking in a language none of them knew. The tone was heavy, almost sorrowful. The words came in short bursts, then silence. Then began again. Record everything, Mira ordered. Joran nodded. Already on it. I'll run it through the translator. The translation took several minutes. When it appeared, it was as unsettling as the beacon's warning. Memory fades. Stay away. Nothing is safe, Leon muttered under her breath. This place really doesn't want visitors, which means it's hiding something, Mira said again. Though her voice was quieter now. That night, the crew gathered in the mess hall, their meals half-eaten. The glow from the projection of the map lit their faces. The black circle in the center seemed darker than before. I've been thinking, Joran said slowly. Rao warned us that the closer we get, the more it will try to take from us, maybe. These beacons are part of that. Not weapons, but defenses that work on the mind. Leon nodded. If they can make us forget, then they don't need to fire a shot. We just turn around without even knowing why. Mira leaned forward. Then we'll keep detailed logs, constant recordings, and backup systems. If something tries to make us forget, we'll fight it with the truth we've stored. And if the truth gets erased too, Leon asked. Mira met her gaze. Then we'll still go forward. Because if we turn back now, we'll never know. In the following hours, they left the system and headed for the next marked location. The stars stretched into long lines as they entered hyperspace. But Mira couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. She spent part of the journey in her quarters, looking again at the physical map plate. Her eyes kept going back to the black circle, but now it seemed less like a warning and more like a shadow over the rest of the stars. She wondered if the Avern had marked it not only to warn others, but to test them. When the bright way dropped out of hyperspace into the next system, the bridge lights dimmed for no reason. The crew checked every system, but no faults appeared outside. The stars shone dimly behind thick veils of dust and gas. Their sensors struggled to see through the haze. Then, faintly, shapes began to appear in the dust, massive shadows that moved without engines, gliding like silent predators. They kept their distance, circling slowly, never coming close enough to scan clearly. What are those? Joran asked quietly. No idea, Leon said, but they're keeping pace with us. Maintain course, Mira ordered. Do not engage, unless they make a move. For ours, the shapes followed, never getting nearer, never fading away. And then, as suddenly as they had appeared, they were gone, vanishing into the dust as if they had never been there. The crew sat in silence. No one suggested turning back. That night, Mira added a note to her captain's log. First signs of resistance are clear. Beacons warn us away. Voices speak of danger. Shadows follow without sound. If the Avern wanted to keep this path hidden, they built more than physical barriers. This is a road meant to be forgotten, which is why we must remember every step. The bright way left the dust-filled system behind and followed the ancient map's dotted line to its next destination. Each jump carried the crew deeper into space that no human charts recorded. The stars outside seemed sharper here, colder, as if the galaxy itself had grown quiet to watch them pass. Captain Mira sat on the bridge, her eyes fixed on the navigation display. They were only one jump away from the black-circled world. She felt the tension running through the ship like an invisible current. Even Joran, who usually had a joke ready for every occasion, stayed quiet at his station. Leon's voice broke. The silence. Final jump coordinates are set. We'll arrive near the marked world in less than an hour. Mira gave a short nod. Make sure every system is ready. I don't know what we'll find, but I want us prepared for anything. The last jump felt longer than usual. When the Brightway emerged from hyperspace, the bridge lights dimmed slightly as if reacting to what lay ahead. The forward screen filled with a sight none of them would forget. Before them hung a broken world. It was not simply cracked like a damaged moon. The planet had been split into several massive pieces, each one drifting in slow orbit around a glowing core. Enormous fractures ran across the surface, jagged and deep, revealing rivers of frozen stone. Clouds of dust and debris formed a thick ring that shimmered faintly as it moved at unnatural speed. No green, no blue, no sign of seas or skies, only the cold gray of dead rock. Jordan's voice was low. It's not just destroyed, it's like someone wanted to make sure it could never be whole again. Leon ran a scan. I'm reading strange energy from the core. Stable, but unlike anything I've seen. The debris ring is moving too fast for natural orbit. Something is controlling it. Mira leaned forward. Magnify the surface. The view closed in on one of the largest fragments. It was covered in strange patterns, straight lines, spirals, and sharp angles etched deep into the rock. They looked almost like roads, but they led nowhere, ending in sudden drops. Those markings, Jordan said. They're too precise to be random. They're not random, Leon confirmed. And here's something else. I'm picking up a genetic signature in the debris. It matches human DNA. The bridge went silent. That's impossible, Jordan finally said. Humans didn't leave Earth until a few centuries ago. This place has been dead for thousands, maybe longer. Mira's eyes stayed on the screen. Unless we've been here before. A very long time ago. Curiosity overcame hesitation. Mira ordered the ship toward the largest fragment. The closer they came, the more details emerged, ruined structures half buried in dust. Towers snapped in half, broken walls standing like the bones of giants. They set the Brightway down on a flat stretch of rock near one of the ruins. The gravity was weak but steady. Outside, the airless sky stretched black and endless. The debris ring glimmered faintly above, a restless halo that never stopped moving. The crew moved carefully among the ruins, their suit lights cutting through the shadows. The structures were made of a dark, smooth stone that reflected their lights in strange ways. Many walls bore the same spiral and angular carvings they had seen from orbit. Leon knelt by a shattered pillar. These carvings aren't just symbols, they're also machines. Look here, energy channels built into the stone itself. Whoever lived here used the buildings as part of a larger system. Jordan was examining a broken metal plate half buried. In the dust, he brushed it clean and froze. Captain, this writing. It's similar to the symbols on the Avern map, but not exactly the same. Bring it, Mira said. They continued deeper into the ruins until they reached a tall, leaning tower. Its walls were cracked, but a faint blue glow pulsed within. Mira led the way inside. The interior was colder than the outside. The walls were lined with thin panels of glassy material, most shattered, but some still whole. Strange shapes moved faintly inside the unbroken panels, like shadows drifting in water. At the center of the room stood a machine. It was as tall as 3 people, its surface covered in slow-moving lights. As Mira stepped closer, the lights shifted toward her, forming patterns that seemed to study her doubt without warning. A deep voice echoed in their helmets, not through speakers, but directly into their minds. You should not be here. The crew froze. The voice came again, steady and calm. This world is locked. Leave before the lock breaks. Mira forced her voice to stay steady. Who are you? I am the Guardian, the voice said. I keep the weapon below from waking. It sleeps in the heart of this world. It must sleep forever. What weapon? Jordan asked quietly. A hunger without form, the Guardian replied. It does not burn. It does not crush. It erases thought, memory, and name. Those who build it thought they could control it. They were wrong. It took their minds and turned them into silence. Mira stepped closer to the machine. The Avern built it? No, the Guardian said. Your kind did. The words hit harder than any blow. That's not possible, Leon said. Humans weren't here. They were. The Guardian interrupted. Long before your history began, they built wonders, they built dangers. When the weapon rose against them, they erased their own presence from the stars to protect others. This world was the cost. Mira's heartbeat quickened inside her suit. If that's true, why did the Avern have the map? They were the last to guard the lock after you were gone, the Guardian said. But even memory fades. The path has been walked again. Now you are here, and the lock weakens. The floor trembled under their feet. A low hum rose from deep. Within the fragment, vibrating through their bones, the prison stirs, the Guardian said. Leave now, or you will see what your kind once feared enough to destroy itself. Mira hesitated. Every instinct told her to learn more, but the rumbling grew stronger. Dust fell from the tower's cracked ceiling. The panels on the walls flickered, the drifting shadows inside them twisting violently. Captain, we need to get out of here, Leon urged. Mira gave one last look at the machine. We'll be back, she said. Do not return, the Guardian replied. The next time the lock opens, it will not close again. The crew raced back to the bright way, the tremors following them. As the ship lifted from the fragment, faint light began to seep from the cracks in the planet's core. The debris ring above shifted slightly, its speed increasing as if drawn by the awakening energy. From orbit, they could see the glow spreading through the fractures like veins of fire. The Guardian's voice reached them one last time. You carry the key. Guard it well. Then the signal ended. Back on the bridge, no one spoke for several minutes. The broken world turned slowly on the screen, its glow fading again as the tremors ceased. J.O.R.N. finally said, Captain, if what the Guardian said is true, then humanity's past is far more dangerous than we ever imagined. Mira kept her eyes on the planet. Dangerous, yes, but also full of things worth finding. We didn't come here to turn back. Her voice was steady. But inside she knew the Guardian's warning was not empty. Whatever slept beneath that world was tied to humanity in ways they did not yet understand, and the map's path was not over. The bright way drifted at the edge of the destroyed world's debris ring. The glow from the fractured planet's core had faded, but the crew could still feel the memory of the tremors in their bones. Captain Mira stood near the forward screen, arms folded, eyes locked on the shattered surface. She could still hear the Guardian's deep voice in her mind, warning them to leave. In the silence of the bridge, Leon broke the stillness. If the Guardian is telling the truth, that thing under the planet could destroy more than just this world, and it's tied to us humans. Jordan turned in his seat, which means we're not just bystanders. If humanity built it once, we might also be the only ones who can stop it. Mira nodded slowly. That's why we're going back down. Leon's head snapped up. Captain, did you not hear the part about the prison breaking? I heard. Mira said, her voice steady. But the Guardian gave us pieces of the truth. We need the whole picture. If we run now, we'll never know what's waiting out there or what might come after us. The next morning's cycle, the bright way descended, once more toward the largest fragment of the planet. The ship settled near the leaning tower they had visited before. The ground was quieter now, though faint pulses of energy still rose from deep below. Inside the tower, the Guardian's machine stood as before it all, dark and marked with slow-moving lights. As Mira stepped into the chamber, the lights shifted. Toward her again. You have returned, the Guardian said in their minds. Few who leave ever come back. We came for answers, Mira said. You said humans built the weapon. Show us the truth. The lights on the machine flared brighter, and the walls of the chamber came alive. The cracked panels glowed, filling with moving images. At first, the shapes were blurry, but then they sharpened into scenes. They saw a world whole and alive, green fields, silver cities, skies filled with ships that moved on wings of light. Humans walked among tall structures, working with machines unlike anything Mira had ever seen. This, the Guardian said, was your kind before your current history began. You lived among the stars for thousands of years. You built wonders. You were not alone. You guided other young races, taught them, shaped their growth. The scene shifted. The cities remained, but the air seemed darker. Massive shapes hung in the sky, their outlines twisting in ways the mind could barely hold. But you also built the weapon, the Guardian continued. It was not made to destroy bodies, but to erase what lived inside them, the thoughts, the memories, the spark. That makes a being more than flesh. It could take whole worlds and leave them standing silent, without a single living mind. The images grew harsher. Ships fled burning skies. People stumbled through streets with empty eyes. Then came the weapon's true form, not a single object, but a vast web of shifting light and shadow, moving like a storm across the ground. Where it passed, nothing living remained aware. Joran swallowed hard. And we made that. Yes, the Guardian said. In your pride, you believed you could control it. When it turned on you, there was only one choice: to erase yourselves from the galaxy's memory. The Avern helped you lock it here, in the heart of this world. You gave them the map so they could guard the prison after you were gone. Leon's voice was tight. If humans were wiped from history, how did we survive? You hid on a distant world, the Guardian said. A world untouched by the war. Generations passed. Your kind forgot the stars. You began again, thinking yourselves new. Mira stepped closer to the machine. If that's true, why is the weapon waking now? Time, the Guardian replied. Even the strongest prison weakens. The lock was made with human design. Only human presence can seal it again. But there's danger if the weapon senses you. It will try to claim you, for you are its makers. It remembers you as its masters. The floor trembled softly under their feet, as if to underline the words, "Show us the weapon now." Mira said. The panels flickered, showing the planets. Broken core. Deep inside, something glimmered faintly, like a slow pulse of light. With each beat, the glow spread a little farther. Around it, shadows swirled, not moving like smoke, but flowing as if they had purpose. This is its sleep, the Guardian said. If it wakes fully, the shadow will leave this place. It will move from mind to mind until nothing remains of thought. Whole worlds will stand, but their people will be empty. Joran shivered. So what's the key? How do we seal it again? The Guardian's lights shifted toward Mira. The lock is bound to your kind's genetic code. One of you must place your life's pattern into the core's control point. It will cost energy, time, memory. You may not survive unchanged. Leon's eyes widened. You're saying one of us has to link ourselves to it? Yes, the Guardian said, and you must do it before the glow reaches the surface. If it does, nothing will contain it. Mira felt the weight of the choice pressing down on her. She had chased the mystery for answers, but now the answers demanded a price. She looked at her crew, Joran, who had followed her through uncharted sectors without question, and Leon, who had kept the bright way alive through storms and failures. They trusted her to lead. What happens if we don't seal it? Mira asked quietly. The Guardian's voice was calm. Then the galaxy will forget itself, piece by piece, until only the weapon remains. Thought will vanish, stories will end, names will fade. The tremors grew stronger. A faint rumble echoed through the tower, like something moving far below. The dust at their feet stirred. We're running out of time, Leon said. Mira took a slow breath. Then we prepare for the descent. We'll go to the core and see the control point ourselves. If sealing it is the only way, we'll decide then. The Guardian's lights dimmed slightly, almost like a bow. I will guide you. But know this: the weapon will try to stop you. It will not use force alone. It will offer you visions, promises, pieces of what you have lost. Do not trust them. Back aboard the Bright Way. The crew worked quickly. Leon reinforced the ship's shielding against the strange energy. Joran set up recording systems to keep their memories intact. Mira reviewed the map again and again, memorizing the path through the planet's deep fractures to the core. Outside, the broken world turned slowly. Faint light from within glimmered more brightly now, creeping along the cracks. The debris ring shifted, its pieces moving like a living thing. Mira stood on the bridge, helmet in hand. We didn't come here just to walk away, she said. We came to learn what no one else would dare to remember. Now we know, and if the cost of keeping the stars safe is high, then it's a cost we'll face. Joran looked at her for a long moment, then nodded. All the way to the core, Captain. Leon gave a tight smile. Let's make sure history doesn't end today. The engines of the Brightway roared to life, pushing them toward the heart of the destroyed world. The Guardian's voice echoed faintly through the calm. You walked the path of your first ancestors? May your steps hold. The Brightway moved cautiously through the fractured planet's debris ring, each fragment of rock drifting like frozen giants. Outside, faint glows pulsed from the planet's core, lighting the ship in cold, eerie colors. Captain Mira kept her hands steady on the controls, her eyes locked on the route the Guardian had shown. Every moment closer felt heavier, as if the planet itself knew they were coming. Leon monitored the energy readings at her station. Captain, the core's glow is increasing faster than the Guardian predicted. Whatever is below is waking. Joran swallowed and adjusted the ship's shields. We've never seen anything like this, if the Guardian is right. It's not just energy, it's alive in some way. Mira nodded slowly. We'll find out. Prepare for descent. We have to reach the control point before it's too late. The ship maneuvered into a fractured canyon that led deep toward the planet's heart. Jagged cliffs rose on both sides, carved with the same spiral and angular markings they had seen from orbit. Faint pulses of light traveled through cracks in the stone, reaching out like fingers. As they descended, the tremors grew stronger. The floor of the canyon seemed to ripple with each pulse, and the dust swirled in slow, deliberate eddies. The ship's lights flickered as if disturbed by the energy around them. Steady, Mira said. Keep the shields at maximum. No sudden movements. They reached the floor of the canyon, where the stone was cracked wide enough to reveal the glowing core below. The light poured up through the fractures, illuminating jagged cliffs and broken towers. The airless silence was broken only by the soft hum of the core, a sound that vibrated directly through their bones. Leon's voice trembled slightly. The control point is there, at the center. It's enormous, and it's moving. Mira looked at the glowing center. A structure rose from the fractures, shaped like a tall crystal spire. Streams of light flowed along its sides, pulsing in time with the vibrations beneath them. The core's energy seemed to reach out, brushing the edges of their minds. Joren swallowed hard. I can feel it. It's probing my thoughts. The Guardian's voice came through their helmets. It will try to tempt you. It remembers you as its makers. Do not trust what it shows. Mira took a slow breath. We'll stay together. We move as one. They exited the ship and approached the spire, their suits resisting the faint pull of the energy. As they neared, illusions began to appear. Shadows coalesced into figures, people from their pasts, speaking in voices familiar and comforting. Joran saw his mother standing at the edge of the path, smiling. Joran, she said, come back. Leave this place. You do not need to face it. Leon saw her childhood friend, laughing as they ran through fields she had never seen. Leon, join me. Forget the danger. Stay here where it is safe. Mira saw herself, younger and lighter, walking among ships she had dreamed of building. Mira, you do not have to risk yourself. Let the others finish the path. The spire pulsed brighter with each step they took. The illusions became stronger, trying to pull them away from the path. Mira clenched her fists. It's lying, she said. It's trying to break us. Keep moving. Joran nodded, shaking off the vision. I'm here, he said firmly, gripping her arm. We do this. Together. Leon followed closely, her own fear mirrored in her determined eyes. No more illusions. We face the truth. The spire's surface glowed with a control panel embedded in the crystal. Faint lines of light matched the patterns from the ancient Avran map. The Guardian's voice guided Mira's hands. Place your life's pattern here. Link yourself. Seal the weapon. Mira hesitated, feeling the weight of the choice. If she linked herself, some part of her might be lost memories, thoughts, even her sense of self. But if she did not, the weapon could awaken fully, erasing everything. She looked at her crew. Joran and Leon stood ready, their hands steady. We can do this, she said softly. Together. Mira placed her hands on the control panel. Lines of light traced up her arms and across her suit, intertwining with her nervous system. A warmth spread through her chest, deep and powerful. She felt her memories ripple, images from her childhood, dreams of space. Lessons learned over years, all flowing into the spire. The illusions tried again, stronger than before. They whispered of safety, of leaving the path, of being free from responsibility. But Mira held firm, letting only truth pass into the machine. Joran and Leon joined her at the panel, their own patterns linking with hers. Together, they formed a circle of light, human life flowing into the ancient structure. The spire pulsed violently, shaking the ground beneath them. The sound of the core rose into a deafening hum, then, slowly, began to settle. The illusions shattered, figures vanished, shadows dissolved, and the whispering ceased. The glow of the spire shifted from violent pulses to a steady, calm light. Mira stepped back, breathing heavily. "It's stable." The Guardian's voice came through again, calm and approving. "You have done what none before could. The lock is renewed. The weapon will sleep again, contained by the lives of its makers." Leon's shoulders sagged in relief. "We actually did it. We stopped it." Joran looked at Mira. "And we stayed ourselves. Nothing was lost." Mira nodded, still feeling the energy slowly withdrawing. "We stayed human. That's what mattered." Outside, the debris ring above shifted slightly, settling into a more natural orbit. The fractures in the planet's surface seemed less violent, the glow dimming to a faint shimmer. It was still a broken world, but it was no longer awake with dangerous energy. The crew returned to the bright way, silent but proud. They had faced a weapon their own ancestors had created, a danger that could have erased entire civilizations. And they had survived, intact in mind and body. Once aboard, Mira recorded the events in the captain's log. "We faced a weapon older than memory, one that remembers its makers. It was not just power, but a test of truth. We chose to act together, to hold to our knowledge, and to seal what should never wake again. Humanity's past is dangerous, but we can face it without losing ourselves. The path continues, and we will remember it." Joran leaned back in his chair. "I never thought we'd make history like this." Leon smiled faintly. "And survive to tell it. That's the real victory." Mira looked out at the broken world below, the black circle on the ancient map fading in her mind, but leaving a lesson she would never forget. Humanity had faced the darkness before, and once again, they had prevailed. The bright way floated above the fractured world, its engines humming softly as the debris ring settled into a calmer orbit. Captain Mira stood on the bridge, hands resting lightly on the console, her eyes on the glowing horizon of the shattered planet. The crew moved quietly around her, each of them carrying the weight of what they had faced, yet glowing with the pride of survival and achievement. "It's hard to believe this world was once home to so much," Joran said quietly, leaning against the console. "And now it's just fragments." Mira nodded. "It's a reminder of what can happen when knowledge and power are not respected. But it's also proof that we can face what comes and survive." Leon joined them, scanning the remnants of the world below with the ship's sensors. "The energy readings are stable now. The weapon is locked again. The Guardian says it will sleep for thousands of years unless another human tries to unlock it." "That's good news," Joran said. "I thought we might have unleashed it by accident." Mira shook her head slowly. "We were careful. That's what mattered. Humanity's past is dangerous, but we are not bound by mistakes made long ago. We can learn and move forward." The Guardian's voice echoed faintly one last time in their minds. "You have done well. You have remembered, and you have preserved the stars. Your kind can now carry the future safely. Guard this knowledge, and your ancestors' mistakes will not repeat." The message faded, leaving a profound silence. On the bridge, no one spoke for several moments. Finally, Mira turned to her crew. "We've done more than just survive. We've ensured that future generations will not face what we just faced. That is what makes us human. That is why we explore, why we take risks, and why we keep learning." Leon smiled faintly. "We can tell the story, Captain. We can warn others, guide them through the stars, and we can make sure humanity never forgets," Joran added. Mira nodded. "Exactly. Knowledge is power, but wisdom is what keeps the galaxy safe." After leaving the fractured planet behind, the bright way followed the next points on the ancient map. The black circle that had once marked danger now felt like a marker of achievement. With each jump, the crew documented the worlds they passed, the ancient ruins they studied, and the lessons they uncovered. The stars stretched endlessly outside. The ship's viewport, familiar yet mysterious, Mira felt a deep satisfaction. Humanity had faced its own past, its own mistakes, and survived. The stars were not a place to fear, they were a place to grow, to learn, and to protect. In the following weeks, the crew visited several other marked systems. None held weapons as dangerous as the fractured planet, but each contained traces of ancient civilizations. Some had left messages in the stone or metal of abandoned cities, hints of knowledge long forgotten. Others held artifacts that had survived time's passage, glowing faintly with energy that hinted at intelligence beyond human understanding. Leon carefully cataloged everything. Each world tells a story, she said, a story of achievement, of failure, and of survival. If we preserve these stories, we preserve more than just knowledge. We preserve the spirit of life itself. Jordan added, and we're making sure no one else makes the same mistakes. Mira smiled. That's right. The galaxy is vast, and the past is dangerous, but humanity has the courage and wisdom to meet it. One day, while scanning a quiet system, the crew came across a small, blue-green planet. From orbit, it looked peaceful and full of life. Mira smiled as she studied it. This planet could be home to new stories, she said, new challenges, new opportunities. And we can guide others to understand it without destroying it, Leon nodded. We've seen what happens when knowledge is misused. We know what must be preserved. Jordan looked out at the planet's surface. And we can make sure humanity moves forward, not just surviving, but thriving. Mira's gaze returned to the stars beyond. The future is not set. It is shaped by our choices. And we choose to protect, to explore, and to grow. That is what makes us human. That is what makes us worthy of the stars. As the bright way descended toward the planet to observe it more closely, the crew reflected on all they had learned. They had seen a weapon powerful enough to erase thought. They had witnessed the ruins of civilizations, and they had faced illusions that tempted them to abandon their mission. Through it all, they had stayed united, guided by reason, courage, and care for one another. Mira spoke quietly to the bridge. We carry the responsibility of knowledge. We carry the hope of the future. Humanity has survived its past, and now it can shape its own destiny. The stars are not just ours to explore, they are ours to protect. Leon and Jordan nodded. Understanding the depth of her words, each had faced fear, temptation, and doubt, and each had overcome it. Together, they were more than a crew. They were the first guardians of a new age, carrying lessons older than recorded history. The ship continued its journey through the galaxy, documenting, observing, and learning. Every new world brought new challenges, but none were beyond humanity's ability to understand and protect. Mira often returned to the captain's log. Each entry contained not only facts, but reflections on the lessons learned. We faced the unknown. With courage, we learn from the past, but we do not fear it. Humanity's spirit is resilient. Our mistakes may be many, but so are our chances to grow. The stars are not just points of light, they are the stages upon which our story unfolds. Years passed, and the story of the fractured world and the guardian machine spread quietly through human settlements across the galaxy. Humanity honored the lessons learned there. New explorers carried the knowledge of what they had witnessed, teaching others to respect both life and knowledge. Mira, Leon, and Jordan became legends not for conquest, but for wisdom. They were remembered not for victories of power, but for victories of understanding. Humanity flourished in the galaxy, not as conquerors, but as stewards of knowledge, life, and hope. On the final day of their journey through the map systems, the bright way drifted quietly in a field of stars. Mira looked out at the galaxy, her mind calm and certain. Humanity had faced darkness, the remnants of its own history, and survived. The weapon lay dormant, the worlds were cataloged, and knowledge had been preserved. The stars seemed to pulse, gently in response, a reminder that the galaxy was alive and that humans, too, were part of its rhythm. Mira spoke softly to the crew. We have done what few could. We faced the past, we secured the future, and we kept our humanity intact. The galaxy is vast, but so is our potential, and this is only the beginning. Jordan smiled. To the next adventure. Captain Bleon added, to the future of the stars? Mira nodded, looking out at the endless expanse. To humanity. The Brightway moved forward, carrying its crew, its knowledge, and the hope of all those who would come after. The galaxy waited, full of challenges and wonders, and humanity was ready. They were not just survivors. They were explorers, guardians, and the light of a new age. The stars stretched endlessly before them, and for the first time in history, humanity looked at them not with fear, but with pride. The story of the dangerous galaxy's oldest star map, the destroyed world, and the guardian machine had ended. But the story of humanity among the stars had only begun.